Imagine that you have 4 rental properties sitting completely vacant. You're trying to rent them, but you have no tenants and you have no rent coming in. Well, that's exactly the situation I'm in right now. In this episode, I want to show you what I'm trying to do about that, including dramatically dropping the rents on those properties. And I want to show you why I think this is happening in my local market and my plan and strategy to do something about it and also to learn from it. If we haven't met yet, my name is Chad Carson. You can also call me Coach Carson, and this is a Coach's Corner edition of the podcast where I'm more informal and I go behind the scenes. And what you're about to see is actually something I shared with my rental property mastery community. Every single month, I have something called Business Backstage, where I go really transparent, show the actual rentals, the numbers, the good and the bad of my business behind the scenes. So if you're interested in joining Rental Property Mastery, we're actually 95% full in the community. We have a 300 member cap. And so you can check it out and find out more details at the link in the podcast and the YouTube description below. So I want to share a current behind the scenes challenge that I'm having. Sometimes it's easy to go behind the scenes and share, hey, these things are going great and look at how awesome I've been doing. But this is real. This is the kind of things that we real estate entrepreneurs face, which are problems, challenges. And in our case, we have 4 properties right now that we would like to have rented that are not rented. One of these is a house. One of these is a unit 3 of a 4-plex apartment. And then we have 2 units of a triplex. And what's interesting is we've had these on the market in 3 cases since March or February. And I'm in a college town, to give you a little bit of background, in Clemson, South Carolina. And so we have leases that go from August to July. So I'm recording this in mid-July or mid-August right now. And so the end of last month, people moved out. We had all of these occupied before, but we always pre-lease in a college town. That's just the way the market goes, is we can start trying to lease properties in February, March after we find out whether a tenant's going to renew or not. So we give the existing tenant a chance to renew. And in these cases, the person did not renew. And so we started marketing it, the 3 of these properties. And so we have not been able to fill it up since March. So that's where we are. In one case, we have a single family house. And if you've watched any of my videos for a long time, this is actually my original house, my very first house that I bought when I was 23 years old. I bought it from another investor, put $5,000 down, got seller financing. And I quickly realized in under a year that I couldn't afford this house living there in a 3-bedroom house. And so I ended up renting it out. My business partner and I have kept it ever since then. And it's grown, it's done well. And we had it rented for $1,900 per month last year. But this currently, we're about to drop it to, did today, $1,795. So that's where we are right now, still not rented. We're dropping it from what we thought was the market rent before to try to get it rented. This 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, we had it rented in 2022 to 25. So it's a 3-year tenant, which in a college town is pretty good, for $720. And the rents have gone up since then. We actually have 1 unit rented for $900, but we're now trying to rent this one for $800 on the market. And then we have this triplex, and it's right near the downtown area of Clemson. So one of our best locations. It's an older property, but we've remodeled the inside. Had new cabinets in 2012, I think, or 13. So it has some older kind of features, but in a really good location, convenient to the campus, convenient to the downtown. And we've traditionally gotten over $1,400 in rent. That's what we had last year. We had a longer term tenant who was paying $1,300 who didn't raise the rent on. But we are now dropping these because we're about to miss the season in a college town. If you don't have it rented by August, September, you might miss out on October, November, December. So we're really aggressively dropping it to $1,000 for the middle unit, which is not quite as attractive, and $1,100 for this other one, just trying to find a tenant. And we'll keep being aggressive. That's kind of our philosophy, is that we don't want to, rather than lose 3 or 4 months of $1,000 a month and have 0 rent, we'd rather have, $200 or $300 less if that's what it takes to get the property rented. So that's kind of the background on these 4 properties. I want to switch screens though and show you, just what's going on the market and part of why I think this is happening. So this is, the Zillow rental market in Clemson. And so, the units I showed you kind of near downtown, this is the best place to be in Clemson, right here in the downtown area. Here's where all the bars and the restaurants and everything are. These are the most expensive houses in Clemson. And then this is the university. So being convenient to the university in downtown is really attractive, especially on game days and football games, things like that. The football stadium's right over here. And so 2 of my units are here. And then we have another unit over here, and it's still on the cap bus line, still fairly convenient, but not quite as convenient. So that's my $800 rental. And these are the ones that are $1,000 and $1,100. But you can see there's a lot of properties for rent. 2 years ago, this time of year, there would not have been this many properties for rent this time of year. There might have been like 3 or 4, last minute rentals. There's a ton of last minute rentals. So there's some kind of oversupply of rentals, which I want to explain more here on the whiteboard in a second, why I think that's the case. And then there's also kind of some demand hits, which I'm going to also explain. But just wanted to show you kind of the map of what I'm looking at and the reason there is oversupply. My single family house is over kind of in this part of town, the residential part of town, near the elementary school, also in a good location. But I think there's been a lot of new construction houses, and there's been also a lot of people renting their houses out instead of selling them. So we've got a lot more houses on the market than we would typically see. So those are two situations we're facing right now with our rentals. But so let's look at that a little bit more in depth, because every town, every market, whether it's real estate or whatever, has a supply and a demand. So the supply is how many units are available for rent, and then the demand is how many tenants are there willing to rent it. And in my town, it's a small town. We have 20,000 people in Clemson, and I have a university with 25,000 students. And then you have faculty and other people who work there as well. So we're basically a one factory town. There are some people who retire here and work here as well, but the university is everything. So you live or die by what's going on with the university. And in this case, the supply of student apartments, we've had a lot of new construction coming online. And so in addition to just people like me buying a few little properties here and there, we've had people, big, huge apartment complexes being built. And roughly, when I was talking to my property manager, we roughly estimated about 3,000 new student apartments since 2020. So that's since the pandemic. And so those kind of come on in spurts, though. Like one building might be 500 units or 700 units. And then maybe if 2 or 3 units come on in 1 year, that could be like 1,500 units. And so I compare this to Clemson's like a little pond, and economy is like a little pond. Whereas if you were in Atlanta or New York, that might be like a huge lake or the ocean. And so if you throw a big old rock in a pond, like that's the equivalent of throwing a lot of supply into the pond, it creates a bunch of big waves, and it kind of creates some shocks. And I think we're in the middle of one of those waves, those shocks right now from too much supply. And then on the other side, though, it would be okay if the demand met that. But I think what's happened is we roughly figured out that the university has been growing about 2% per year. That's kind of on their long range plan. But it goes in spurts. So my property manager told me, and it was 900 one year, 1,100 one year, 300 and 300 the last couple of years. So it slowed down a little bit for whatever reason. There's still demand long run for people going to Clemson. I know they have like 30, 40,000 applications for a small number of spots to get into Clemson. So there's plenty of long-term demand, but for whatever reason, whether it's housing or classroom size, I don't know what the reason was. We've only added 2,500 new students since 2020. So if you just compare those two numbers, there are 500 more apartments than there are new people wanting to rent that. And I think this number is understated. I think there are people there's other units that we didn't account for in like nearby towns that are also being built. And then I think there's this phenomenon that I mentioned briefly on the map, where in the overall economy, this isn't just in Clemson, you have people who have low interest rates. They've kind of been locked into their houses. And then they decided to try to sell their property, but they didn't get the price that they could get 2 years ago. So they're like, you know what, I'm just going to take it off the market and rent the house out because I have a low interest rate, a low payment. And so I've seen a lot of houses coming on the market. And I think that's part of it. Life happens. They have to move, whatever reason that was caused them to want to move, but they just decided to keep it as a rental instead. In many cases, they're willing to rent it lower than maybe what the full market value is. So that's where we are. We have this big rock that's been thrown in our little market of Clemson. The question for me, though, as an investor, is this a permanent problem? Is this a temporary problem? That's right. That's the name of the game, right? It's like, if it's a temporary problem and we're going to outgrow this problem, maybe the enrollment's going to catch up with the supply and maybe that'll kind of equalize over time, then you kind of sit fast. This actually might be an opportunity because there might be other investors who kind of panic about this and can't afford to drop their rents. And maybe there's some good buying opportunities for me. So that's where my head is at the moment. But if it was a permanent problem, you'd have to think about that. Like, what if you're in a town where the one business moved out of town? What if Clemson University decided to stop dropping its enrollment? Or what if colleges are no longer viable and nobody's going to go to college anymore? That's something to think about long run. I think we're in good shape. That's the bet you have to make as an investor over the next 10, 20 years. I think they're going to continue growing. I think that it's got a dynamism where big, huge universities are in good shape, where small universities are having a challenge. But it's something to keep an eye on. You always have to be asking yourself, what's my investment thesis? Is this a short-term problem, long-term problem? And we think it's a short-term problem. And so our question now is like, what's the strategy to deal with this? How are we going to make this work in the short run? And so here's our strategy. Short-term, we're going to drop our rent and just get these things filled. I call it like finding the market. You just have to keep dropping the market. Like we had one of our properties, one of the houses was not getting any showings. And so the first thing I looked at, I asked the property manager, like, check the house. Is it clean? Let's check the ad. Is the ad actually on Zillow? Are you actually promoting it? Because sometimes maybe the ad's not active and you thought it was. So you sort of check every step of the process. But if you're doing the marketing and if what you normally do would normally generate leads, you're just not getting any leads or any showings, then it's probably price. And so we start dropping the price aggressively every week or two until we start getting a flood of leads and people start looking at the property. That's the ball game. And that's the short term until we can get it filled up. But then over the midterm next year, we need to really think about being more competitive. And part of being competitive is the price, but I think about it more like overall value. So the price is one aspect of value, but it's also what are they getting? Like maybe we need to make sure the property is more cosmetically appealing. Maybe we need to think about upgrading some things. Maybe we need to market and sell better. I have kind of this hunch that, I grew up started renting properties in 2003, 4, 5, and 6 when it's a really hard rental market. Everybody was buying properties. And I have really good property managers, but my hunch is all property managers and investors over the last 5, 6, 7 years have got a little bit lazy with the marketing. I think it was so easy in my market to find rental properties because there was a shortage of supply of rentals and more demand for the rentals than we had. So you just put it out there online and people lined up and they want to rent your property. It wasn't that hard. I think we have to get better at marketing our properties. And so that's something I'm going to talk to my property managers about, like kind of strategy. We need to think about where we're marketing, how can we differentiate ourselves? Maybe we have to pay for some paid advertising. We got to get better at that because somebody's renting their properties out. It's not like all of them are vacant. There's some people who have their properties full, and I want to be some of those somebodies who have their property full. So those are my kind of midterm: being more competitive, adding value to the properties, thinking about pricing, marketing them better and earlier. And those are hopefully going to help us out. The other thing that I'll just mention is that if this same thing had happened to me, and it did happen to me in 2009 when we were going through the recession, if we had vacancies and it created this kind of stress, it was a much worse situation for me as a new investor who didn't have a lot of cash flow at that point. Whereas now we have cash flow from other properties. So these 4 units are vacant, but we have dozens of other units that the rents are coming in. And so we can kind of offset that. It's not great, but we are not in a financial calamity kind of situation. This is why I always talk about cash reserves are so important. You got to have a cushion because if black swan events or weird events, or this isn't even a black swan, this is unexpected, but the timing's unexpected, but these kind of things happen. Real estate's very cyclical. So you have to have cash reserves to be able to help you get through these times. You don't ever want to stretch it to the point where you are living on the next dollar and you're always investing in the next property, and you don't have enough margin to be able to withstand these kind of shocks. You got to stress test your portfolio a little bit. And this is one of those ways to do it in real life, is what would happen if you had some properties vacant. So this is a challenge for my rental property business, but I'm optimistic we can solve this problem. I'm also optimistic that we can learn from it, we can grow from it. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. Is this something that was helpful for you? Let me know if you have any questions, any suggestions, any ideas. And if you want to see behind the scenes like this every single month, or just get coaching from me on your tenant situations, on your rentals, on acquiring properties, if you just want to be involved in a community of other small and mighty investors, I recommend joining Rental Property Mastery. As I said earlier, we're almost at the cap. We're 95% full. You can get more details. There's a link in the podcast and the YouTube description below. I also want to recommend my next video, which is all about the 7 steps to rent your property out. In this episode, I talked some about renting properties, but I didn't get into the details of our process, the systems we use to actually rent out a property. So in the next video, in the next episode, you can learn step by step how you go from a tenant turning over and leaving all the way to the time that you fill the property up, you get it leased, all those steps and the paperwork and everything you need to do. So if you're interested in that process, you can click on the thumbnail above me here if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, you can click on the link to the next video in the podcast or YouTube description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.